Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on artificial intelligence. Like we know, AL has been one of the hot topics so far, and interesting topics that has been on for some time now. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we can.
So it has been a very interesting topic of recent, not with the introduction of ChatGPT. And at AuthorAID, we've been having some series of events on this particular topic. We had a tea time on the same topic some time ago, and this webinar is a follow-up of the successful tea time. And also one of the hubs also had a webinar on it. So this is a very interesting topic, and we must keep pace with emerging developments of AL to ensure that we're prepared for the future. So we have 4 seasoned speakers from different parts of the world with very impressive academic and industry records and very impressive achievements. And they have been carefully selected for this webinar so we can have a robust discussion on the topic. So they're going to be dissecting various facets of the roles of AL in scholarly writing. So without wasting much time, I would like to introduce the first speaker, who will be speaking on critical AL literacy. Professor Maha Bali is a professor of practice at the Center for Learning and Teaching at the American University in Cairo. She holds a PhD in education from the University of Sheffield in the UK. She's a co-founder of virtuallyconnecting.org, which is a grassroots movement that challenges academic gatekeeping at conferences. She's also a co-facilitator of Equity Abound, an equity-focused, open, connected, intercultural learning curriculum that has branched into academic community activities, including Continuity with Care, Socially Just Academia, and a collaboration with 1HE, community building resources, as well as My First, an innovative 3-month professional learning journey. Maha writes and speaks frequently about social justice, critical pedagogy, and open and online education. So join me to welcome Professor Maha Bali as she speaks on her topic. Prof.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome you to the virtual podium.
Thank you so
Over
much.
to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Welcome everybody, and thanks for being with us here today. So I'm gonna, the topic of the overall is the role of AI in scholarly writing. So AI meaning artificial intelligence, just the acronym. As you follow along with my session, feel free, you can do whatever you like with the slides. They're Creative Commons license. As long as you don't sell them, you can do whatever you want with them. You can take screenshots. If you're on social media, my Twitter is @Bali_Maha if you'd like to tweet them out. And here is the link to the slides. If you want to take a look at them later on your own, you can comment on them later as well. So not necessarily today, but if you want to look at them later, you can do that. And I always start any session I'm in with, how are you feeling? This is something artificial intelligence doesn't know yet. Although there are artificial intelligence that tries to know how you're feeling, I don't think it can ever truly know how we're feeling. Could you let me know in the chat, how are you feeling today? And also, if it's like the middle of your workday like me and you need to stretch, remember to stretch, get a sip of water or something to help you stay focused with us today, because water makes a huge difference when you're starting to feel sleepy. Excited, doing well, feeling fine, great, good, very good. Excited to hear this webinar. Don't know how you're feeling. That happens sometimes. Feeling awesome, doing fine, good, thumbs up. Okay. Wonderful, doing well. Relaxed. Smiley faces. Very well. All right. Excited to be here. A bit tired. I was waiting for someone to say that, right? You can be well, but also be tired, and that's okay. Awesome. Someone's feeling lucky. Great, good, awesome. All right, thank you so much for sharing how you're feeling, and happy to be here. I'm very happy to be with you all. And there are people in the waiting room. Someone needs to put them in. All right. Okay. So I like to also start talking about AI by thinking about what is a good metaphor for artificial intelligence, right? So my mother is a medical doctor. She doesn't know anything about AI really. She just hears about it. And she was saying that AI is like junk food. And she didn't really elaborate on what she meant by that, but I'm guessing when you say AI is like junk food, and let me know in the chat if you're seeing something different than what I'm seeing. I would say AI is like junk food because it gives you things very quickly, like fast food, right? But the actual food is not that nutritious, so it's not as rich as or as good for you as other kinds of food. But then it can help you when you're really hungry. So maybe it's not all bad, but too much of it is not good. So that's what I think about fast food as a metaphor, or junk food as a metaphor. Go ahead, Chinwe. Do you have another metaphor to share? Cheetah responds very fast. I like that, Johnston. So Chinwe, did you want to share one? Okay. Does anybody else want to share a metaphor for AI? You can just share it in the chat. That's easier. Ibrahim concurs. Anyone else have a good metaphor for AI that you could share? You like the junk food one? Yeah, it's relatable, right? Everybody understands that one. It's not 100% right always. Yeah, that's not a metaphor. It's just the truth, of course, especially with ChatGPT. It's a shortcut. Yeah, definitely a shortcut, I would say, for sure. My boss says it short circuits your brain, so it's not always a good thing when it does that. It's a shortcut, but the shortcut, when you say a short circuit, that's actually not a good thing, right? It's like a guide, so it can be used as a guide. That's true, even if it's not 100% right. Maybe sometimes it can be a guide. Any others? Limits thinking. It prevents people from doing intensive literature search. Yes, but neither of these is a metaphor. It's a child of necessity, okay? Direct your path. That's what was saying, it directs the path, okay? It's like a first-year undergrad, which needs to be double-checked. Yeah, it writes like a first-year undergrad, I think. Makes work easier, but that's not a metaphor. Now you're saying, its life is cheesy. Ease of doing things. Okay, thank you all for participating in this. All right, I'm going to move on. So I've been working with my colleague Mia Zamora to develop something called the Equity Care Matrix. And we developed this outside of the context of AI, but I'm going to explain what it is, and I'm going to put the full paper in the chat in case anybody wants to read the full paper. What happened with Mia and myself is that we were asking people on Twitter, what is equity without care and what is care without equity? Because that kind of work is very important for us. I'm sorry, I'm going to mute all because can someone mute all, please? And then I'll unmute myself. Okay. All right, so what is equity without care and what is care without equity? We asked this question on Twitter, and then whatever came out, we created this matrix out of it. Is that situations where there's equity but no care results in things like tokenism or diversity theater or lip service or systemic. Maybe it's a systemic justice, but in the end, people aren't actually enacting it very well. It's a performance. Whereas if you have care without equity, it's selective and effective labor, right? Not everybody gets it, and some people get exhausted by it. It becomes ameliorative. It solves a problem, but not the systemic problem. And it's like a Band-Aid, doesn't solve the big problem. Obviously, if you have neither care nor justice, you get systemic injustice. And then if you have care and equity together, what would that be? Is it justice? Is it Nancy Fraser's notion of parity of participation, where everyone gets to participate equally? Is it intentionally equitable hospitality, a way to welcome everyone equally to a space? We're not sure. We worked on it a little bit more and we came up with this. Care without equity, systemic injustice. But when you have equity without care, it's contractual equity. On paper, it's equitable, but in practice, nobody does it with care. If you have care but no equity, it's partial care. So some people are doing the caring, some people are receiving the caring, and there's a bias in who gets care and who doesn't, and who gives care and who doesn't. Whereas what we think is the best option is to have care and equity. And we're calling that socially just care, where everybody has responsibility to care, everybody has responsibility to receive care, and we always ask people how they want to be cared for. Now, trying to apply this to AI is to recognize where in our research process and our teaching process does care need to be done, and in what ways, what can we pass on to AI in ways that won't be harmful. But we need to also look at AI itself and look at where there are inequities and where using AI could be an expression of lack of care. Okay, there's something wrong with the link to the article, but I'll try to get you a proper link in a minute, okay? Recognizing inequity in AI globally is really important, and there are several dimensions of that, and depending on where you are in the world, I'm going to not ask that question, but inequalities we know about AI is they're biased data sets, right? They try to have diverse data sets, but still the majority of the data sets come from mostly white Western English content. It doesn't do very well in Arabic. It does okay, it's getting better, but doesn't do very well in Arabic. It doesn't do well about knowledge of this part of the world, right? It's inaccessible in some locations. ChatGPT is still not available in Egypt. I tried to ask a friend in Saudi Arabia to use it, and they said it wasn't working. Maybe one of my co-panelists can confirm this. There are some countries that don't have it. So people all talk about, oh, ChatGPT is available to everyone. It's not. We are able to access it through VPN and through using a phone number outside of the country and all that, but not everyone has the knowledge to do that or the morality to circumvent what you're supposed to do. And some people don't have the digital literacies to do that. So it's not really equitably distributed. And it reproduces some oppressions. So historically, artificial intelligence in general, regardless of ChatGPT per se, facial recognition has always discriminated against darker faces. And criminal justice, therefore, was more likely. First of all, criminal justice AI in the US was more likely to give criminal punishment to African Americans than to white people. Search engines are biased. If you search for what does a professor look like, it was likely to give you a white male elderly professor, for example. So AI reproduces oppression that exists in the world because it learns from data in the world. And if we're not careful about what data we feed it, it will just reproduce that. And it's also extractive, right? It learns from users. A lot of the visual AIs use the work of artists who didn't mean to offer their work up to be used this way, and their permission was not taken. I also think a very important story coming out of the way ChatGPT and OpenAI trained their data to become ethical had some exploitation in the global south. And I don't know if all of you know this story. So for me, OpenAI and ChatGPT are like a wolf in sheep's clothing, because supposedly it's a sheep, supposedly it's a polite AI, it doesn't use swear words. If you try to make it do something unethical or violent, it's going to resist and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't know if any of you tried to make it do that. But in the process of training the AI to be like that, do you all know about what happened? And they outsourced this work to a company called Sema in Kenya. And I don't know if anyone here is from Kenya, but I assume there must be. And the workers were, first of all, underpaid, but more importantly, they suffered mental health trauma from the experience of having to look through so much data that was so traumatizing and violent that they themselves were suffering. And then the company didn't do enough to help them overcome that. And so for us as educators, it's really important to think about intentional adaptation. That there's always going to be change, and we have to think about what our goals are and how we intend to move together. And with the use of AI, how can we do this with care and intentionally equitable hospitality? And so for me, institutions need to support teachers with community conversations to figure out which direction we want to go rather than to impose one thing. And I think supporting learners, critical AI literacy, letting them understand the limitations of AI, the biases that AI has, what it does well, what it does poorly, how to prompt it so that it can do better when you want it with something like ChatGPT or some of the image AIs, rather than taking a catch and punish lens. But it's also really important for them to know the story of the Kenyan workers whose mental health was destroyed by the process of creating this AI, so that they understand, in order to have the product that they have now, what did other people suffer and sacrifice. And the copyright issues, of course, they need to understand as well, that some people's information was taken and data without knowledge, and that their own privacy is being threatened when they use the tool every time, right? And we need to think about ways to address the inequalities in AI with the ways we use it, or with the ways future AI is created. And for me, the most important thing is never to automate what we care about. When you care about something, you don't automate it. There was a story of a shooting in the University of Michigan where someone wrote a diversity statement to respond to the shooting victims and their families using AI. And this is like not okay. You don't use artificial intelligence for emotion and for human relationships where as a way to express connection, you know? And then when we choose to support students or researchers or early career researchers with this kind of thing, for me, the most important thing is to build trust with students rather than suspicion, not try to catch them, but try to encourage them to support each other, help them understand, help them be transparent about how they're using AI, right? And include them in the conversations around what will institutions do, empower them to make their judgments, right? Sarah Elaine Eaton, who is a well-known author on artificial intelligence and academic integrity, her main area of specialty, this is my last slide, by the way, talks about a future. There is an echo, so I'm going to mute all. She writes about the possibility of a post-plagiarism era, so that hybrid human and AI writing will become normal. We just cite it. We relinquish some control, but we don't relinquish responsibility to check if it's accurate or not. That AI could help human creativity get better. I have concerns about that, but I understand where she's coming from. I don't agree with her that language barriers would disappear because language is so nuanced that I think it won't completely disappear. There will always be the need for humans to translate, but of course it helps. Like the AI that help with translation are phenomenal. They've made a huge difference to the world. And she thinks that the definitions of plagiarism will change over time. They will be transcended, not just rewritten. And so for scholarly writing as well, I know there have been some journals that have published things with ChatGPT as an author. Some have said that's not acceptable, but you have to attribute it in some other way. I think transparency about our processes is going to become important. And AI will be just one of the other tools that we're using. The problem is that it looks like a human wrote something. And we're going to have to be careful about drawing the lines between what's from us and what's from the AI. Thank you very much. I'm going to put a link to my slides again over here. And let me know what's the key thing you learned from this session before we move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Maha, for that very interesting and informative presentation. Can you hear me? Am I audible? Oh, great.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
All right. So I would like to introduce the next speakers. Actually, the two of them are going to be doing a joint presentation. So we have Sam. Sam is a researcher and medical communications enthusiast with over 20 years of experience in pharmaceutical drug development. He has worked with major pharmaceutical companies, CROs, academics, publishing houses, and freelance settings. Over the years, he has evolved in roles. He has evolved in roles and responsibilities as a scientist, author, peer-reviewed scientific writer, journal editor, and business leader. He has worked directly with Vivifa Biosciences, Novartis, Aventure, Biocon, GSK, as well as writing agencies from the APAC region and medical journals. He has also provided services for BMS, Pfizer, and UCB. Currently, he works as a senior director of medical affairs with Cactus Life Sciences. He has published over 65 research articles as an author and has written, edited, and peer-reviewed over 4,000 research papers. He specializes in publication strategy, planning, management, and editing for non-native English authors. So I'd like to also introduce Habib, who is a pharmacist by education and a medical communications expert by profession. He has over 15 years of experience in various writing domains, including drug, device regulatory, scholarly, and drug safety writing. His areas of research interest chiefly include medical communications and peer review, pharmacovigilance, and public health. Habib has received grants from the World Health Organization and several others. He has served as an invited speaker for scholarly events. He acts as a peer reviewer for more than 10 journals and is an editorial board member of Drugs and Therapy Perspective and Trends in Scholarly Publishing. So both of them will be presenting or talking about the topic AL-assisted tools in scholarly publishing. So join me to welcome Habib and Sam for their presentation. Over to you, Sam and Habib.
Hello, thank you so much for that kind introduction. So hope I'm audible and my slide is visible.
They are, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for confirming. So hello everyone, and Dr. Bali has already done a mood check, so I hope you all are doing good, and some of them are still tired, but still you are doing good, since we already had a great presentation from Dr. Bali. Welcome to the session on scholarly publishing in artificial intelligence era. So I have to politely disagree with Dr. Bali for the metaphor saying that artificial intelligence is a junk food. So it depends on who is using it. If it is used by a student who is supposed to know literature search and comprehend the data and put that in structure, then of course that's a junk food. But it is used by a professional who is in the domain and trying to create a content which is a valid content in less time, definitely that is not a junk food. So we will see to that when we go across what are the different aspects of artificial intelligence in scholarly publishing in the next slides. So my name is Sam Matthew, and I'll be taking this session along with my good friend and collaborator, Habib Ibrahim. So a quick disclaimer, major part of this presentation is based on a recent paper published by us in Science Editing, which is a journal actually published by Council of Asian Science Editors. So this was earlier presented at 2 events, that is, one is in ISMAPU and case workshop for journal editors. To be honest, we do not have practical working experience of all the tools that are described here. But we have worked on some of them, and we relied on the published literature and the information provided by the service providers to make this presentation. So I'm not sure why the slides are not moving. Yeah, so I hope you can still see my screen.
We
Yes.
can.
Yeah, here is what we will cover today, and we will try to understand what is artificial intelligence and its future. So we'll also see why artificial intelligence is important in scholarly publishing. And then Habib will take you through in detail about different tools that are used in scholarly publishing. We will also go over certain ethical considerations and guidance for scholarly publishing with respect to artificial intelligence. And we will also conclude the session by understanding how will artificial intelligence replace human intervention in and what will be the future of that replacement of artificial intelligence of human. What is artificial intelligence? So this is a big buzzword we hear everywhere in the society, and every industry is speaking about it. So recently, Accenture Applied Intelligence have conducted a survey in around 1,500 of its employees from 12 developed economies. So what they found is 80% of them are aware of the potential of artificial intelligence, and they all know that they need to inculcate artificial intelligence to further grow in their career. And 3/4 of these employees fears that if they don't do this, definitely they will not flourish further in their career, and the organization will lose significant business. And they also think that if they have to do this, they just do it as quickly as possible, and at least by 2024. But the question is, have we understood artificial intelligence completely? Are we interchangeably using artificial intelligence and automation? So in my honest opinion, the term artificial intelligence is suffering from severe overuse. So as per Encyclopedia of Britannica, So artificial intelligence is any thoughtful application of advance of computer science and task and process that is usually related to intelligent beings. So that means artificial intelligence is completely different from automation. Automation is mainly a rule-based software system or a tool that actually works on a set of explicit rules predetermined by a developer, which works without any human interventions. For example, we all are aware of the editorial management software system, which sends automatic email to and the reminders to the authors and the reviewers. At the same time, artificial intelligence is a machine or a software that actually mimics or augments human intelligence. So they use large quantities of data to create algorithms and the neural networks. So it actually identifies the patterns, predicts, performs tasks, and takes decisions based on the explicitly program that has been performed to do so. For example, in journalology or in scholarly publishing, selecting an appropriate reviewer from a large database of a manuscript, that is actually done by artificial intelligence softwares which are used by the publishing houses. And in most cases, these tools, the tools that we are going to discuss here, the tools that Habib will take us through, is a perfect blend of artificial intelligence and automation. Let's understand what is the future of artificial intelligence. So if you look at the global market research reports in the last couple of years, you will get convinced that the future is artificial intelligence. Here are some examples, and I'm not going to take you through all the specifics, but in a nutshell, the artificial intelligence industry is going to grow from billion to trillion industry soon. So, and this artificial intelligence impacts every facets of life, and scholarly publishing cannot stay away from the impact of artificial intelligence. You also would have noticed there is an increased thirst for artificial intelligence related processes or our activities during this pandemic, where human interaction was significantly low. Let's try to understand where artificial intelligence can support a publishing industry. So to understand this, there was a survey conducted somewhere in 2019 by Goldfinch and Frank Foster Bushman in around 17 countries with around 300 senior leaders. So what they have found is artificial intelligence is helpful in scholarly publishing to increase the readability, maybe to increase the navigation within the documentation. It also enhances the content discoverability. It improves decision making, and it can automate complex processes, and it improves compliances with standards. It also reduces the human workload. In a nutshell, if you look at it, artificial intelligence or machine learning, in fact, improves author experience, and it improves the content discoverability, and it reduces the peer review process burden, etc. With the advent of ChatGPT, I know that many of us have different opinion about what ChatGPT and what it does. We also have seen that artificial intelligence on machine learning can interpret and summarize the data set per the request. So the credibility of the data is something different we need to discuss separately. But at the same time, what it shows is it can interpret the data which is available in the public domain, and it can summarize the data for someone who is really interested in it. Why do we need artificial intelligence intervention in scholarly publishing? So in the last decade, if you look at the slide, there has been a steady and significant increase. You see it from around 4 million to around 7 million in the number of research publications that are available in the public domain. And another data, which is for the last 2 decades, actually shows that there is at least 3 times increase in the number of publications available in the public domain. So there is a increased number of publications which are coming into the domain, which will have impact on the scholarly publishing houses. And please understand, these numbers are just the numbers of the published papers. So imagine the papers that are under review or the number of papers that are rejected. The peer review burden is an ongoing saga for any publishing houses and any other journal editors. So in most cases, the peer reviews are voluntary, and the time spent on peer review, in turn, the cost of the time or the voluntary activity is not accounted for. Look at the number, the amount of, the conversion of the time into the $1 billion that's spent in 2022 by different peer reviewers from different geographies. While the peer reviewers are expected to spend their time on the scientific integrity of the research, in most cases, they spend time in language corrections, reformatting, accuracy of references, and many other non-value added services. And studies show that there is a significant scarcity of qualified peer reviewer across subject areas and across geographies. So if some of these non-value added activities can be done by a machine or an automated system, will that be a big relief for the scholarly publishing community, including the journal publishing houses and the journal editors? We need to clearly look at the changing landscape of scholarly publishing in the current scenario. So the landscape is completely changing, and the current landscape actually mandate quick, quality, and transparent output. So all that activity the scholarly publishing community do should be quick. We should have the required quality, and the activity should be transparent. At the same time, we know that ethical issues are becoming more prominent when we embrace these changes. So this is leading to predatory journals and the use of preprints leading to open peer review. And as we saw in the previous slides, the publishing community is dealing with a huge number of research leading to enormous volume of publications, and changes in the landscape of new concept leading to many ethical concerns, as we have seen in the previous presentation by Dr. Bali, who is really concerned about the ethics of artificial intelligence in scholarly publishing, which definitely have a point. Let's look at what are the opportunities of artificial intelligence in scholarly publishing. It is always important to leverage the artificial intelligence concept and the capabilities to make scholarly publishing related activities more efficient in terms of quality, timelines, and transparency. So artificial intelligence can support scholarly publishing in both perspective and retrospective ways. Now I would request Habib to take us through different tools that are used in scholarly publishing, and once he finishes that, he will transition the slide back to me. Thank you, and Habib, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Sam, for the inspiring information on why we need AI evolution in scholarly writing. Before I take you all through the various tools that work on AI concepts, I wish to thank AuthorAID for this wonderful opportunity. I remember some 10 years ago, I was a participant of AuthorAID's first research writing course. I was one of the 40 students in their very first batch. I'm grateful that I'm speaking at an AuthorAID event today. All right, let's move on to the topic. Although human input is seen as essential for writing publications, the contribution of AI slowly and steadily moves ahead. Today, we talk a lot about the role of ChatGPT in writing full-text papers, but there are several AI-assisted tools available in the market. Before we discuss about ChatGPT, I wish you to know the already existing AI-powered tools that help all key stakeholders of scholarly publishing at all key stages. That includes project initiation, or we call it a pre-drafting stage, involving literature review, information retrieval, systematic data synthesis. Then manuscript development phase, that includes writing, editing, and revising. That also includes reviewing. Okay, then the bibliography and citation management stage, target journal selection, plagiarism prevention, peer review, quality assessment, proofreading, and a lot more. Let's see some examples of tools used for these different tasks. Next slide, please. A literature review forms the backbone of any publication project involving evidence-based research. We are in the infodemic era. The retrieval of the right, accurate, and sufficient information is thus crucial to achieve this milestone. There are many tools available today for performing literature search and conducting systematic reviews. AI-assisted search engines help us in transparent, quick, and effective data extraction practices. For example, tools like COVID Scholar and Clara help learn about COVID-19 related research information. Another tool called Semantic Scholar uses artificial intelligence to mine the information available in already published articles and provides users access to supplementary information to reproduce the findings. The tool called Wisdom.ai from Taylor and Francis does deep search journal databases and connects data from various domains and concept areas. Iris.ai, another tool, which follows a distinct strategy by sorting topic-based contents in the core database and integrating these different algorithms to generate document fingerprints and then positioning the results based on relevance. Another tool from the same team called OUR compare the published content with publications which are similar and check authenticate the hypothesis involved in that paper. Hope you may be aware of Rayon, a popular AI-based solution for conducting organized systematic review. Covidence is another familiar tool. I have been using it now. It uses ML technique, machine learning technique, which analyzes patterns in post-screening behavior in a review and uses them to predict the relevancy of the studies that have not been voted on and to sort them in that particular order. There is one more interesting article, about the Covidence, how it helps improve the efficiency. Sam, go to the previous slide. Yeah. So we have covered almost all the points, and I just want to include one more tool called AS Review, which uses active learning techniques to solve screening large amount of text and speed up the review process and saves time. In fact, this is very interesting because it is an open source software. The tools that we discuss here may not be freely available for all the users. So it involves some cost. So as a user, it's a blessing to have something with open source that we can use it for our purpose without any cost. When we say about the literature review, we can have tools for data extraction as well. Omnity, a multilingual AI tool that helps in semantic data extraction of scholarly articles and patents in over 100 languages. There are several other notable AI-based tools that are used in systematic review automation. For instance, RoboSearch and RCT Tagger, which helps to filter only the randomized control trials. There are tools called Thalia that helps us to do conceptual search and indexing of PubMed articles. The tools called RoboAnalyst and Swift Review, they help obtain topic model search results. And something like RoboReviewer helps in data mining and automatic extraction of data elements. The last one in the slide, Scholar C, it provides meaningful summaries which are created by AI for research articles. So these are well before the introduction of ChatGPT. This helps authors and science writers quickly understand the essential study-related information from the published content, such as settings, population, and findings. When we move to the next process called manuscript writing or editing, several AI-backed writing assistant tools have recently emerged. As we may be aware that in Beijing Olympics, we have a lot of news about robotic journalism and writing robots. So when it comes to writing assistants, there are widely diverse in different scope, like they are specialized in medical, marketing, legal, business, or academic, or even scholarly writing, and in scale, like fully augmented, semi-automated, and only simpler bots. So when it comes to scholarly writing or in writing in general, a few tools serve as writing platforms, which authors and writers use to develop content. The others are mere checkers and bots that support writing activity outside that platform by suggesting modifications. So ChatGPT will come here, but with additional features in it. So we'll go to that one by one. Some of the examples that I include as writing assistants or even writing enablers or LightKey, ProWritingAid, Word AI, After the Deadline, Perfect Tense, Writer, Writeful, Perfect It, Signote Manuscript Writer, Hemingway, AI Writer. There are a lot. Okay, I might have missed so many because when I see in a review website called G2, they have listed some 60 different AI-based writing assistants. Interestingly, like the highly rated Grammarly, some products have extensively been used in academic settings and scholarly research with positive feedback. There are articles about the use of these tools and how they perform. Perfect It is another example. It can be customized to suit any in-house style. Besides regular grammar checks, it focuses on abbreviations, style guides, consistency in table figure order, and even headers. Like that, Pro Rating Aid serves as a grammar checker by providing overused words or suggesting word combinations. It also acts as a style editor and writing mentor. It provides tips for readability and consistency. Trinka is another software, another tool. You can say software it's a tool, specially designed for academic and technical writing. Apart from correcting the grammatical errors, it helps authors develop submission-ready documents. It auto-edits the documents and provide corrections in track change versions. So I have used a few of them. I often use on a daily basis, but not all, definitely. So there are other examples like Synode Manuscript Writer, which extracts data from references using keyword search and then adds them directly to the draft with proper citation and annotation. Other interesting tools to check include Paperpal, Marlowe, and Wordwise. Next slide, please. When it comes to reference management, the use of recent, relevant, and quality references is very important for a good paper, but it's not so easy. Preparing the reference section and checking its accuracy, especially the in-text citations, the numbering order, often becomes tedious, especially when we use 50 plus references in a single article. Usually the review articles will have more number of references. So to manage things, and when we send to co-authors or multiple authors, then they will suggest some new references to get added. And if we do manually, it is cumbersome. So AI applications provide much help in this domain, as most of you guys may be using AI-enabled reference managers. There are even capable of influencing citation patterns. Tools like CoCites, Citation Gecko, and Connected Papers identify research publications by two different methods. One called co-citation, that is two research articles appearing together in a single reference list. And the other is bibliographic coupling, two papers citing in a single publication. So with these techniques, they identify related papers and suggest earlier and derivative works of the input papers and build a visual graph of related publications. Another tool called Wisdom.ai comes with an AI inbuilt citation recommender. So for a text, it suggests the citation. It can showcase an article's projected citation impact for 3 to 5 years. Another tool called Cite.ai uses smart citation feature to analyze quality of references and list publications with editorial notices if there are any retractions or disputes and any other issues with the particular paper. Cywheel is another tool that uses similar smart search to recommend relevant articles. Meta, one of the leading literature search portals, employs predictive algorithms to identify relevant papers, rank them, and automatically integrates with the reference manager called Mendeley. And the quite popular leader in the market, EndNote, they include deduplication of articles. They provide bulk reference update, auto import of files, and you can easily cite while you write. All these categorizations are backed by the automation features, which is blended with AI techniques. The other leading names in this reference management do have their share value of intuitive value additions that simplify referencing and citations. For example, Citavi automatically adds citations and then prevents plagiarism. JabRef automatically renames and sorts related files based on the user's rules. Finally, CiteYouLike, it has an automated publication recommendation feature. There are other examples like Citation Machine and Paperpile, which also help in making things easier when it comes to references. Next slide, please. We have too many journals these days. It is estimated that around 30 1,000 scholarly journals are published annually. And we focus on highly reputed journals which have high rejection rates. And there is significant growth of the predatory market. Without proper peer review process, without editorial review process, the journals take money from us and then publish. Choosing the right journal is a challenging task. One has to look for scientific rigor, transparency in editorial review process, peer review process, and then policies on different editorial functions. Obviously, the reputation and impact. So AI-based interventions thus have a role to play. The tool called OA, Open Access Journal Finder, follows search algorithm using a validated journal index supported by the DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, to provide assistance for us to avoid predatory journals. There is another tool called Find My Journal, which employs an intelligent algorithm to search a large pool of journals using researchers' response to objective questions. So it will ask you a question based on the answers that it is given. It suggests top 5 journals for submission. The similar function has there in Manuscript Matcher. It is a EndNote 20 product. It applies complex algorithms and it uses Web of Science information and statistics from JCR-IF, that is the Journal Citation Report Impact Factor, to suggest highly reputed journals based on the impact factor by providing match score to shorten our target journal search. Elsevier's similar product called Journal Finder involves clever search know-how. It is termed as fingerprint engine. They give subject-specific vocabularies to identify correct journal choice. Next. Sam, next slide, please. Plagiarism detection is one of the widely used area where AI-powered algorithms and tools can help in the current era. Similar to the role of innovative writing assistants, this has been widely used. So they outweigh the general web crawlers by identifying content similarity at different levels. We have quite a lot of tools available as of now. So CopyLeaks, powered by machine learning, helps detect plagiarism in over 100 languages. Plagiarism Rater applies natural language programming principles to parse and extract textual content. Authenticate is a market leader, and the lower version, it's called Turnitin. Both uses side-by-side comparison of text content and source materials and presents a similarity index as a percentage, indicating the amount of copy-paste matches. Interestingly, some writing assistants like Grammarly and AuthorAID also have plagiarism checking features. So other interesting examples in this domain are Plag.ai, plagiarismchecker.ai, Mark, Quillbolt, and Plagly. Next slide, please. Peer review is one area which humans really require assistance from technology. As Sam was talking about the peer review burden, it really takes a lot of time from a publication process. So current tools can perform profile-based, bias-free matching of reviewers and selecting them and sending some notification. It's a kind of automation blended with AI. IRA from Frontiers has become one of the first AI-supported tools used for peer review of scholarly manuscripts. It reviews and recommends 20 seconds for grammar, style, figure, and legends, plagiarized contents, apart from providing warning about conflicts of interest. PubSphere Report, another tool which can examine for reporting hygiene related to readability, adherence, and comprehensiveness. Repeater Review performs similar checks in addition to inspecting reproducibility variables and analysis method. There are several softwares or tools called StatCheck and StatReviewer. They help to identify errors in statistical approaches and statistical methods. Next slide. Workflow management is a key process which has been automated several years ago. there are different types of tools that help us in making things easier. The best example I could say is Paperpal pre-flight. Most journals use that, and there is a site, there is a tool called Penolab.ai, which has same functionality and matches journal specific requirements, especially for references. And Ensilo Evaluate, it conducts technical checks at manuscript screening and reduce substantial time and efforts invested in the process. So AuthorOne conducts 60 checks and authorship declarations. It uses some novel technology to assess the ethical compliance, like inclusive language. I'm not sure if we have a tool called tool for checking the person first language. For example, for obesity, we used to say patients with obesity and not obesity patients. So it's a guideline based on the World Obesity Organization, and it has been followed by leading journals on this domain. So I'm not sure that particular part is involved in any tool as of now. There are other tools like PubStrat, which uses automated workflow management alongside an option to create citation. Hope if you are submitting an abstract or full stack to a journal, so it will check the references and give a quality score for the citation and how it is, whether it is validated or not. Next slide, please. So here is the first machine-generated book published by Springer in 2019, written by Beta Writer Software. So it has become a reality in 2019 itself, and it has been accepted as an author by Springer. Next slide, please. So let's focus on generative AI tools, that is the ChatGPT. As we all know that it has been released by OpenAI in November 2022, but a decade ago itself, we had auto-generated process for regulatory writing process. I hope Sam will be remembering, as we worked together in an organization some years ago, we used autogens. They call it autogens for narrative writing. It's a clinical writing, report writing process. We use the structured data, structured template. The machine will capture the data from the TFLs, tables, figures, and legends, and then it will automatically paste the content in right places, giving in a proper sentence. So this automation has come very yearly, and ChatGPT has been recently included as an author, and it has become a debate, a huge debate. But in June 2022 itself, the previous version, GPT-3, have been included in one of the papers as an author that has been published. So this particular paper for ChatGPT that has caused controversy is on MS USMLE examination. It is published in Metaxorvy, and it has been now published in PLOS Digital Health. But unfortunately, the chat, fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on the way how you take it. It has been removed. The ChatGPT has been removed as an author and then published, but the preprints still have that name. So that was considered as the formal debut of this particular tool into scientific writing. But immediately, many associations, professional bodies, and leading publishing houses come forward to declare that AI cannot be an author, like the World Association for Medical Editors, Committee on Publication Ethics. Everyone has come up and discussed on detail and giving the motions that it should not be credited as an author. So in this case, as we discussed further, so we could see that GPTs, the emergence of GPT cannot be avoided. So how we use it, how it improves the process is key here. So when we say the leading publishing house, Nature has changed its editorial policy, stating that it does not currently, they clearly mention it, currently they cannot accept ChatGPT as an author. It is there are chances, as we see in the recent editorial in Science Editing, there are chances if the current ChatGPT tool evolves in a better way to satisfy the responsibilities of all the criteria that is given for an author, it can be considered as an author in the later stage. Next slide, please. So there are a couple of articles I could see on asking the ChatGPT, can AI write a science paper? So what do you feel? Is it an ethical issue if we add ChatGPT as an author? I have seen an AuthorAID discussion from Dr. Richard from Australia. I think he has joined the session today. So he also had a similar kind of conversation with ChatGPT, and it clearly understood that it is not, the accuracy and validity of the information in the paper may not be as high as a human written paper. So it is important for a human researcher to review and verify the information before it is published. And similarly, when asked about the ethical part, AI may not be able to fully capture the complexity of human thought or language. So these answers are given by the ChatGPT itself. Next slide, please. So there are challenges ahead of scholarly publishing community to implement AI in a full scale. So there are high cost involved when we talk about different tools. Not everyone is able to use it because of the cost involved. There are other challenges like reliability, and not everyone is trained for a particular tool. There are too many tools, in fact, and there are ethical issues and how we use it. And there is definitely the issues like trust deficit and bias. Next slide, please. There is a general guidance from EU on trustworthy AI. They rely on 4 ethical principles. The tool should be developed with the 4 key things: that respect for human autonomy, prevention of harm, fairness, and explicability. So these 4 things are crucial when we develop any tools that would benefit a scholarly publishing community. It rely on key 7 requirements. There are human agency and oversight. The human involvement should be transparent, and it's a mandate process that any decision like author decision on a submitted paper should not be taken only with AI technique. Human intervention is much needed. And there are other issues like diversity, accountability. This is the key thing that Nature editorial policy has cited. So the content created by ChatGPT cannot be accountable by the tool itself. So in that case, it has been not considered as an author. That's the key thing that hinted Nature editorial policy. Next slide, please. So COPE, Committee of Publication Ethics, have come up recommendations for using AI in scholarly publishing. So editorial decision cannot be made by an AI tool alone. It can be used as an aid, but the ultimate decision should be made by an editor. So human oversight is a key to ensure a fair process and respecting authors' rights. Publishers should give details about where and which process, which steps AI is involved. Okay, so all these points have been, I feel it has been aligning with accordance with the EU guidelines on trustworthy AI. So with this, I hand over the slides back to Sam. He will proceed further. Sam, you want me to cover this AI hesitancy? Yeah, the previous one. Yeah. Okay, there are 2 things as we discuss here, AI hesitancy and AI illiteracy. Not everyone is welcoming the AI tools. Even there are people who are against completely, and not everyone is literate. So what we talk today as a speaker in this session, all we know is from the user's perspective. So I'm not an expert in AI. And Dr. Sam is not an expert in AI. So these are experiences that we share from our own user interface, like how we see the tools as an author or researcher. It's not that we develop something else. So recently I have had a session, I have attended a course. In fact, it's called AI in Healthcare for healthcare professionals. So they teach what is the basic and what can be, what IT or information technology knowledge, what AI knowledge that can be imparted to healthcare professionals like me, and what is not used for developers. So there are two different cases. So we expect in the days to come there may be amalgamation or incorporation of AI knowledge within the medical or pharma or nursing curriculum. So because the use of AI within these healthcare lines is immense. So every student in the coming era may look for the integration of these courses, these subjects, these topics in their own health core subjects. Sam, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Habib. So what do you think? So are you all worried? So will artificial intelligence take over medical writing and scholarly publishing? So will the medical writers, editors, and the reviewers lose their jobs? I know that you will have all these questions in your mind. Okay, because we have seen now there are multiple tools that are available to do the scholarly publishing at different levels that supports the author, the editor, the scholarly publishing houses, and the overall process. So, but it's important that we need to remember that artificial intelligence it's not a magic wand. So it's merely a tool with a lot of limitations. And we also know the apprehensions of the scholarly publishing community, especially the academic community, with respect to the artificial intelligence in scholarly publishing. One thing is sure that artificial intelligence cannot replace different stakeholders involved in scholarly publishing, such as medical writers, the editors, and the other relevant roles, because these all roles actually definitely need a human touch. But at the same time, being stakeholders in the scholarly publishing and artificial intelligence is evolving at different phases of the life. If we stay away from artificial intelligence, there is a chance that it will impact our career development or career growth. So definitely artificial intelligence can be used in many areas, like wherever it's very laborious work and where there is a clerical task and an editor or the writer to improve human performance and to enhance the overall efficiency of the productivity, it can be used. And it will also be beneficial for the patient, the society, business, researcher, author, and journals. How it is benefit for the patients? Definitely the data and the timelines will be significantly reduced to bring out any document related to therapeutic interventions. And definitely, as the time is reduced, definitely it improves business outcomes, which will have impact on the business, and it will improve the quality of deliverables with respect to consistency and accuracy. It's automated, artificial intelligence with one program working with that. So definitely the consistency and accuracy will be more, though we have concerns about the accuracy of the data. And it will also improve the ethical aspects such as compliance, non-biased, and transparency and integrity, as long as the program written is known to everybody and everybody is taking care of the genuinity of the program that's being written. How do we conclude? Let's considering that artificial intelligence is something which is unavoidable. So one thing is sure that the human-machine collaboration is inevitable. And each one of us, the scholarly publishing stakeholders, should be mentally prepared and trained to create value and improve performance and delivery by incorporating artificial intelligence tools in our day-to-day activities, so that the speed, quality, and the transparency of activities can be improved. With that, I conclude my presentation, and thank you so much to the AuthorAID and the audience for your patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam and Habib. That was explosive presentations. Thank you. I learned a lot and shared so many tools that can be used for scholarly presentation. So quickly, I want us to move to the next presentation. Before we go, to Q&A. I can see some very interesting questions coming in. Please keep them coming in, and then thank you for the good feedbacks. Also keep them coming in. Some people have asked, are we going to share the recording? Yes, AuthorAID will share the recording. So before we move to Q&A, I'd like to introduce the next speaker. Dr. Olumide Odeyemi is an accredited and award-winning research support specialist and researcher. He has provided research support services for over 250 grant applications, budgeted at over $300 million research funding grants submitted to over 150 funding bodies. He's a recipient of multiple internationally competitive scholarships, grants, and awards valued at over $0.4 million. He has received the Research Funding Due Diligence Award, co-recipient Vice Chancellor Service Excellence Award, and Research Division Service Excellence Award. Dr. Odeyemi is a multidisciplinary researcher with over 50 scientific publications and is listed among the world's 2% of scientists in microbiology and food science. Dr. Olumide will be speaking on the pitfalls of using ChatGPT in grant writing. So join me to welcome Dr. Olumide. You're welcome to the virtual podium. Over to you, Dr. Olumide.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I do appreciate that. And thanks, AuthorAID, also for the privilege you've given, even for every one of us, to come and talk about AI. So I will quickly share my slide. Maybe Dr. Sam can stop sharing their slide so that I can share this one.
Sam, can you stop sharing?
All right, so I will be talking on the pitfalls of using AI for proposal writing. And sorry, I may be a bit fast because I have to join another meeting in the next 70 minutes. Please bear with me. So we've heard a lot about AI, ChatGPT. So the previous presenter have actually done justice to that. So I wouldn't go back to repeat what they have said. However, looking at the importance of this tool, we've seen it in scholarly writing in terms of writing manuscript and in management of manuscripts. But then there are other areas in which this tool can be used, and that area is some grant writing. And if you have written grant before, you will agree with me that it's not an easy job to do. I currently I'm working on a grant application. I spent 2 days on that, still writing the application, still fine-tuning it. But then if you compare what I've done and what AI will do, obviously AI will do it in very few seconds. So before we continue, I would just encourage us to go to slido.com. You can use any of your device, or you can just take the QR scanner to scan this QR. So if you go to Slido, just type that one into your device, and then there's this number there. You can key in this number. So we quickly do 1 or 2 things before I finish my talk. So what we want to do is, I just want to ask us some few questions, which I will just require that we answer it together so that we can just have the same feeling of what happens when we use some of these tools. So I believe we've done that. That will take us to the first question I want to ask. So have you used ChatGPT before now? Yes or no? Okay, 67% have done that. 43 no. Okay, no is increasing. Okay, So we have more people who have used it. 22 out of 22 people, 59% have used it before. 63 out of 25 people, 65% out of 26. That's interesting. So out of 27 people, 28, 68%, 61. All right. So I believe you had a good experience when you were using it. And for those of us who have not used it, just try to see what it is. There's no crime in trying it, but then it's personal. One can decide to use it and one can decide not to use it. But it's good to actually know what these things are so as to see the disadvantages vis-a-vis the advantages that people are talking about. All right, so let's go to the second one. Thank you for those who have answered the question. So the second one is, what did you use it for? The previous presenter have talked about this tool very well for us. Like I said, I wouldn't go back and be telling us what they've told us, but then what did you use it for? What did you use ChatGPT for? Email, interesting. Testing prompts, brainstorming, outlining. I have not used it before. To write an essay, writing letters, editorial work, paraphrasing, executive summary, coding, testing, overview of subject, topic for curriculum, to generate outline, draft personal statement, access reference, to try a letter, random searching. I haven't used it before. Not use. Okay, interesting. Ebook writing, error correction, editing, rewarding. Interesting. Generate proposal. That's interesting. Good enough. We're looking at proposal now. Okay, thank you everyone for that contribution. All right, so let's move on. I haven't used it before. Okay, that's good. Checking whether I am writing in track, not used before. Okay, so let's move on. For those who have grant proposal before and have presented it for a webinar, only 1 out of 5 grant applications are actually funded. This is similar to job application. You know, a job was advertised recently and 39 people had, apply to that job and only 1 person will be given the job. So for you to see how competitive it is when it comes to writing grant proposal, and it takes a lot of time. In fact, a study was conducted here in Australia that shows that it takes 38 days, working days, for people to prepare a federal government funded grant application. So it takes a lot of effort to get that done. Now, have you written a grant proposal before? Because that will lead us to what ChatGPT can do. Yes, no, 100%. Okay. Okay, 25 out of 29 people, 62 have done that. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting. We have a lot of people that have written grant proposal before, which is good. And that will take us to the next question. I'm rushing because of my time. I have to be in another meeting shortly. Okay, so in a single word, describe your experience in grant writing. Just in one word, what was your experience? For those who have written grants before, what was your experience? Tedious, exhausting, interesting, rigorous, laborious, tedious, misfeeling, stressful, wonderful, challenging, time-consuming, tedious, didactic, tedious, laborious, time-consuming. I tried because I imagine it was doubting task. Not bad, time-consuming, challenging, difference. Okay, that's good. So from what I could say here, I think time-consuming,
Dr. Olumide, are you there? Am I audible? It's not from my end.
Yes, you are. Yeah, I think we may have temporarily lost him.
Yeah. Network issues. Okay. So we'll wait for him to join back. So like I said, it's interesting to see the very great feedback that we're giving about the webinar. So before Dr. Olumide joins, maybe we can just, Habib and Sam, are you there? Maybe you can just answer some of the questions that came in from the chat box.
Sure, doctor.
Yes.
All right. Somebody asked if you can share the references you used for your presentation.
Yes, doctor, we can.
So maybe you can send that to the AuthorAID team.
Yeah.
And then it will be shared to all the participants.
And Habib, if at all, we can put the link to the publication from Science Editing. So that will be helpful for everyone.
Okay. So you can put the link up in the chat box.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure, yeah.
Do you have it handy, Habib? I don't have it right away.
No, we'll share. Need to
Yeah.
upload it and then we'll share it.
Sure.
Okay. So another question that came in was how to include AL in the curriculum. Artificial intelligence. Habib or Sam?
Yes.
Okay, I think Dr. Olumide is back. So we can hold on the questions. Dr. Olumide?
Yeah, sorry, please. I think the internet had a glitch there.
So you can continue
I'm
with
sorry. I'll take my video off. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So I was on this slide. Now, this was my initials and also the AI. So what I did, I was writing a proposal, which I'm almost done. I've been writing that for some days. Now, I decided to test that with AI. Why I was still struggling to complete it in 2 days, AI actually did that within a few seconds. However, I could cite the source of my information or sources of my information, but the AI cannot do that. That is one of the things we need to take note of. We're looking at the pitfalls of using ChatGPT or AI to write grant proposal. Another pitfall that I saw was regarding the budget. Now, there is a limit to the amount that you can request for in that proposal. And of course, you can just include that amount in the query you are giving to the AI and it will generate that for you. But the challenge there is it can't list out the exact thing that you're supposed to put in that grant application. So someone who relies solely on using AI to generate a proposal for him or her may end up, shooting his or herself on the foot. So AI cannot generate that. And then when it comes to personal profile, it can generate your personal profile. There are certain information about you, about your achievements that cannot be found online, which are hidden somewhere in your file, in your folder. AI cannot generate that for you. And in some of these applications, you need to provide your profile. And then both human and AI require guidelines. You have to still provide the guidelines of what you want the AI to do. So I will go to the next slide, which is possibly the last one. So I may not be able to stay back to entertain any question because I have to be in a meeting. Sorry for that. So I wanted us to actually quickly do this by just going to Chat's OpenAI. If you have an account with them, you can just ask the AI to write a grant application for you, maybe 5,000 words, and the amount there is $20,000, and these are the various section of the application. You can put any topic of your choice there and then see what it will generate. You'll end up discovering that what it provides can look so good. One of the things you may notice is that not everything will be provided. Some of those things will be cut off. And then secondly, the sources of the information will not be provided. So, and as a result of that, you can't just provide a whole document of information without stating the source of that information. So these are some of the pitfalls we need to bear in mind. Of course, it's very fast, it's very robust. I've tried it myself. I've done it even today. I've tried it and it brought a very good result, so to say, but then there are pitfalls to avoid. So the more we know more about the use of AI, ChatGPT, and every other thing, then more of these disadvantages will be coming up. And of course, we can't totally rely on all these things. They still need human inputs. So let's be aware of that. You don't just rely on it 100% and put all your information there and just relax and allow it to do all the work for you. Thank you very much. I would like to stop here because I need to join another meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Olumide, for sharing with us the pitfalls in using chat in grant writing. Please, before you go, I know you are rushing to go. Can you just drop your email address in the chat box?
Okay, I will do that.
For those who would like to contact you.
All right. All right, thank you, everyone. Yeah, I really appreciate your patience. I have to go now, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this is the time for questions and answer. And if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat box or as well raise your virtual hand. So while we wait for people to raise their virtual hand, there was a question I read out to Sam and Habib, how to include artificial intelligence in the curriculum. I think this is a very interesting one.
Yeah, I can take on that. There are possibilities. We have seen only IT or computer-based courses in engineering colleges and medical-related courses in medical colleges in the earlier time. So there comes biomedical engineering and some other courses that come as sandwich courses that incorporate some of healthcare aspects and some of IT-related aspects. So similarly, I can see some courses in artificial intelligence in healthcare, especially in Indian institutions. They started giving up small short-term courses. And I myself have attended one course in King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center in Riyadh. It's a 6-week course, and it has all the basic components of AI. So we know what is a library, or how to run that. So it is not much detail as a developer do. So we use smartphones, right? So we all use smartphones and we now use computers. So we don't know how to make it, right? So as a user, from the perspective of a user, what we need to know, that is very well learned. So similarly, this AI tools will also have a similar impact in the coming days. And quite easily, it will be incorporated as a sandwich course. And during the time that we study school, we don't have much on computer on the general school curriculum. So nowadays, even in class 1, in class 2 of Indian CBSE syllabus, they have included computer sciences as a portion, and they started telling about small things like how we use computers and the other services of it in a regular basis. So it will take time, but definitely very soon we will have sandwich courses at all levels, from school, middle school, even colleges, and even postgraduate courses with application of both AI or IT as well as medical concepts.
Thank you. There was another question posted. What is the difference between AL and automation? Happy for Sam?
Sam, you can
So,
take it.
yeah, so artificial intelligence, it works based on a program. So it analyzes the data and it takes a decision. So that's how the program is made. Automation is nothing like that. You click on it, it will do what is being asked for. So in simple words, we can say automation doesn't think, but artificial intelligence thinks. So I'm not getting into the programming aspects or engineering aspects of AI or anything, but basically that's the difference. Artificial intelligence, it has an intelligence, it analyzes the data that you put in and it comes with an output. But automation is a system which is already programmed. You click, ask it to do this, it will do whatever you want. For example, I have already given the same examples in a scholarly writing setup. If you want the author to be sent out reminders every week to say that you are, we have sent the document back to peer review. So if you just program it, the system will automatically send the emails. It will not do anything else. So the program is like every 2 weeks, send email to this email ID. So that will happen. But if you are given a big data set of reviewers and you need to identify one reviewer from that who is actually suitable for your subject area, how do you do that? So you will have a big data bank behind this. So the AI will analyze the data and it will identify the reviewers who are relevant for your subject topic, subject matter. And then it will automatically identify those. So that's the basic difference.
Thank you, Sam. So Oluseun Paul Amon, your virtual hand is up.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. I just have this question to ask because, I really enjoyed the presentations, especially as regards ChatGPT. So I would like to ask, because I got, an information regarding the usage of ChatGPT for research studies and all that. And I got to know that very soon, Turnitin will stop. We'll start flagging, papers, from ChatGPT. So I just wanted to confirm if this is what is in reality, so that, whenever we are using ChatGPT, we can also, adopt some human efforts, such that even when you are writing a paper, you don't get flagged by reviewers. Thank you.
Yes. So Habib, if I can go first. So yeah, 13 has come out with a new plugin, so which is not released to the public yet, but going forward, Turnitin or Authenticate can identify text or data that is created by artificial intelligence. So I do not know the background how it gets that, but I have tried this by myself, creating different content using ChatGPT and putting it different plagiarism checkers, including Turnitin. It never identified it as plagiarized, but maybe it will have a different program altogether, an algorithm, which will identify machine developed content.
In fact, I have not used ChatGPT. I have just tried only once because it is not available in our country where I reside now. So I have read a blog post from Dr. Varun Bhatta, is an assistant professor of philosophy at Indian Institute of Science Education and Research, located in Bhopal. Okay, he points that science discourages the subjective references of writers, like the personal pronouns I, use of I. We won't use I in scientific articles, right? In text. And it denies the role of personal values in research. So it is not surprising that research of a discipline which has meticulously erased the presence of human subject can, after all, be authored by a non-human. So I really appreciate his viewpoint, and we started slowly. Initially, we did not use the pronoun we also. Okay, now US journals mostly they started accepting using we collected data. We used this database, so we started using we. And except for editorial, I could not see that pronoun I in that. So his point of view is clear, and it gives a different perspective.
Thank you for answering that question. We have so many questions in the chat box. We'll try as much as possible to answer some of this. So I think most of the questions are directed to Habib and Sam. There was another question posted: will AI not take the role of man in the nearest future? Will its use not lead to people leading their jobs?
Yeah, definitely not. Artificial intelligence will not take the job of the human. This is what we thought when computer was introduced, right? So we thought all our jobs will go away and the computer and machines will do. Now we think that when robot comes in, what will happen? So the people, so we will evolve, right? So what do you have to, but you cannot go shy away from artificial intelligence or new developments of science. Understand this and see that what is good for you, take that. Sorry. And unless you embrace these technologies, you will not grow further, because every organization is looking for efficiency and then better outcome. So efficiency is something but nothing but time. So artificial intelligence related things definitely save a lot of time. Quality, of course, there is an area which we need to look for, and the transparency and ethics we need to look for. At the same time, ultimately, if you look at it, there are a lot of business and money involved. Artificial intelligence cannot be kept away. You will have to evolve in different roles. So as we have seen, being a peer reviewer, if you spend 5 hours in peer reviewing, in that 3 hours, if you're spending in just correcting the normal language errors, punctuations, a primary pronoun, secondary pronoun, etc., why you have to spend that time? You can spend, as a peer reviewer, you're a scientist, you can spend your time in identifying the scientific integrity of that. So let the remaining things to be done by a machine, and you focus on what you are skilled at. So I think that that way we will, it will never take away the jobs of professionals in the domain.
The question: can we use artificial intelligence for putting references in scholarly articles? If yes, what's the name of the tool and how accurate?
Yes, we can use tools like EndNote, Mendeley. So it is having features both blended with automation and AI. There are some features like cite while you write from EndNote. It has an option. It will get as a plugin in your ribbon in the Microsoft Word. So when you write and click that, you can change the format, style, and whatever reference that you want, you can directly import into the document. So there are several softwares, several tools available for this option.
Okay, thank you, Habib. Can you just post some of these tools you mentioned in the chat box?
Sure. I have shared the article, the complete article that has all the details, but I will share the reference tools as well.
Okay. The last speaker, Dr. Olumide, I asked him to post his email. His email again is oluodeyemi@gmail.com for those of us who would like to reach out to him. We have other question. Would overuse of artificial intelligence for academic purpose be counterproductive in terms of reducing the ability to work using the human brain, dependence on machine. I hope you get the question.
Could you please repeat the question?
I think the participant is asking that over-reliance on artificial intelligence, will it not be counterproductive in terms of reducing the ability to work using the human brain? Will researchers become lazy if they have to depend so much on artificial intelligence?
Yeah, good question, but just the same question to the same person. Do you use calculator? So it's as good as that. So if something which you need to be done through a machine, do it. And it doesn't mean that, and you will, if you train your brain in such a way that how to use your artificial intelligence, that itself will train your brain. So ChatGPT, as we all know, it will not give you the exact data. There are a lot of errors. There are a lot of errors I have found. So you get the data, you clean it up, or you add appropriate references, then your brain is working. So it is just use all these as a supportive systems. Don't think that it will give you everything. These are there to support you to get your, your document or your research or whatever it is as quickly as possible. That's it.
Thank you. I think someone also mentioned that we can use it as a guide.
Yeah.
And then
it's just a supporting system.
Yes.
I can tell you, I recently wrote a blog. Okay, to be honest. So I used ChatGPT to generate the content, the data. And then each of the sentences I have rewritten, paraphrased by referring back to the original references. That is not available in the ChatGPT. ChatGPT will never tell you from which source they have found out. But I did a back research to find out some data on that. So definitely, and ultimately, if you look at it, that document has become completely overhauled by the time I written it and edited it. So I used ChatGPT to generate some data, but I validate it, I rephrase it, and I'll make it my own. So I don't think it's a problem.
Thank you. Sam and Habib, someone asked, or someone mentioned that the ChatGPT is not accessible in some African countries. So how can this set of researchers have access to it?
No, even I could not access here in Saudi Arabia. So it's between the government and the provider. So we don't have, as a user, we don't have any option to choose. Some use VPN or some other backdoor for accessing it. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, similar earlier, Google was not available in many countries. So time will answer all this. So I think these are the political decisions the countries have to make.
Okay, thank you, Sam. The next question is, how do we reinvent our curriculum? Well, the person is actually referring to Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, to prepare both the old and new research for the task ahead. The present curriculum cannot help at all. So I guess the person wants to ask, how do you use artificial intelligence to reinvent our curriculum, especially in the global south?
Yeah, I think that's where we are going towards, right? So everywhere, as we have seen, whether the curriculum will also have artificial intelligence. So any new technologies which are coming, see, data sciences we have started seeing in many of the 10+2 levels educations in India. So artificial, as it's emerging, when the people start using it, definitely the governments will take a decision to include that in the curriculum.
I think we were supposed to end this webinar by 12 p.m. Nigerian time, but I think we have exceeded with about 15 minutes. Thank you so much. It has been a very interesting discussion, and we are all well informed. I've also learned a lot. So for those who are asking if the recordings will be shared, yes, the recordings will be shared. And then the slides. Sam and Habib, I think you're going to make your presentation available for us to send to the participants.
Sure, definitely.
All right, thank you very much. So I think before we close, we can have some photographs. Sam or Habib, can you just help me with that? Because I'm having challenges with my system. If you can, just take a screenshot for the participants. Can we all put on our videos if we can?
What?
So we have somebody from AuthorAID attending this. So
I think network has moved them all out.
I better take a picture.
Asta is supposed to do that. And then Tabitha also.
Tabitha is not online, yeah?
No, she's not online. She's been having network issues and has been moved out.
Okay. But I don't see the option to capture screen in this. Maybe I have a demo version.
I'm doing it.
Okay. So then Habib, we have 4 screens. I think all 4 screens we need to capture.
Yes.
Hello, can you come around?
Sam, are you able to do that?
I'm doing it.
Habib is doing it.
Try.
You click on View App on the right upper corner of your laptop, and you select Gallery. And you click on Full Screen.
Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
Yep.
You can also help us, Olushui.
All right.
Thank you.
You also take one more pictures, Olishri.
I think we have about 4 different gallery pages.
Yes, I can see that.
All right. You can put on your camera.
Camera. Oh, people didn't put on their camera.
Yes, they are just.
Okay, maybe we have to do it again.
All right.
Okay, so for the first page,
Second.
should I send it immediately? Should I send it immediately?
No, you can send it to me later.
Okay, please let me be sure that it saves.
The second one.
Okay, I'm going to the second page now. Second page.
You don't want me.
I'm going to the third page.
You don't want me.
I'm going to the last page.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So I've shared with you my WhatsApp number. You can send them to me.
That's all right.
All right. So thank you, everyone, and see you next time. I want to thank especially all the speakers, Sam, Habib, Maha, and Olumide for the wonderful presentation. We appreciate all the effort you have put into this. Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting
Thank
you all.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.